Anyway, welcome. I want to welcome all of you here. When I work, I'm not really an alcoholic. Well, I had teenagers, so I guess by law we had to start drinking a little bit. My name is Jim Marteney. That's me. I'm a professor emeritus, which means it's Latin for I survived, okay? I think is what it is. And I'm in the Communicatio in studies. Yeah, I had to transfer this from Keynote to PowerPoint. There may be a couple of those. And I still teach online. I also, this presentation, those of you who came in, those of you who don't have the handout, this is the website you need to go to. Hey, what do you think? No, I'm sorry. goo.gl/4T5GA6. Let me give you a moment to copy that down. And those of you playing at home, just copy that one. Everybody got time to get that? If not, you can grab it from the person next to you. While you're writing this down, let me tell you, when I'm asked to help an instructor design a class, what's the first thing the instructor wants to do? There's two things most instructors. One is, how do I put my tests online? And how do I put my content online? And I fight them because I say, let's look at discussions first. And I'll show you why. I was distance education trainer for Los Angeles Valley College for about 6 years. And this is the kind of the comments that I would get as I would start. What's online? Because Valley College, Los Angeles Valley College in the San Fernando Valley didn't have much in the way of online classes. And now when someone asks you about online learning, you always hear the idea of MOOCs, right? And somehow we're beginning to equate MOOCs with online learning. And my answer to them is MOOCs is not another word for online learning, just as 800 student lecture is not another word to a seminar. And this is the way, so there's much more that we can do online than what MOOCs are offering, so we try to move away from that. What I want to do now is to focus on engagement. How do we engage students and get them involved in learning? I was told, you're lucky to be teaching adults. Did you ever get that? Oops. Yeah, there it is. There's my adults that I teach. Anyway, I'll let you go with that. And I have instructors who have very big egos that believe that all knowledge comes from them, and this is the way they visualize their classroom. The lucky student there receiving knowledge from the finger of God, okay? We have a variety of challenges when we teach. Learning styles, generational differences, pedagogy, andragogy, digital natives versus digital immigrants. You familiar with this? Who's ever heard of this? Anybody? Anybody 30 and anybody over 30 is considered a digital immigrant, desperately trying to become a naturalized citizen. Natives are those that have grown up with technology, have had it all their lives, it's seamless with them. I can always spot it when I'm doing training. The digital immigrant will want to know, can I print everything that's on the screen and have it in a folder? And they'll also ask me for permission. They'll go, well, what happens if I press this button? And what, of course, is my answer? Find out. Press this, let's find out. Little kids, don't worry. Those of you who have children, they just start pounding keys, right? And I had a friend of mine whose niece she was looking at the manual. Her niece was just pounding keys. And finally she looked at her niece and said, don't you think we should look at the manual? And her niece answer, the digital native answer was, nah, that's just somebody else's opinion. So, the key to an online class, more than what we get at any face-to-face, is interaction between the instructor to student, student to the instructor, and most importantly, student to student. Peer-to-peer interaction. That's where the energy and the dynamics take place in an online class. I've told one person, I'm going to be using the TRF method, talk real fast. So please stop me if you have any questions. Normally in a classroom, we only get 2 questions, right? One, I'll start you off. Will this? And number 2, do you offer extra credit? Right. So those are the 2 key questions I always got. So anyway, the difference between an engaging online course and a boring online course, stimulating discussions. Discussions is where it comes. This is where people get involved. And I've been looking at from Facebook to texting to YouTube, our students are ready to perform. Are we ready to step back a bit and allow them to engage? I look at higher order thinking skills. Like I mentioned, I teach critical thinking. And you all familiar with Bloom's taxonomy? Most of our testing is knowledge and remember, maybe describe and explain, but it's in discussions. Our discussions allow, that's an Indian term. Okay. Native American term. Anyway, allows us to focus on the top three: create, evaluate, and analyze. Those are the things I want my students to be doing, and that takes place in discussions. As I have them post their ideas, sort of what we call reality testing. Post their ideas, have other people respond, defend, and so on. So, first thing we look at is how do we create a discussion that people actually want to participate in. This is a typical discussion for me. I'm going to be using, we use an LMS called Etudes, and so those of you who aren't familiar with it, we get a large avatar so we can see who we're talking to, and a nice layout. Yep, well not this one. They probably have one for them. No, absolutely. Yeah, they all get to see pictures of them. So, and this is about disappearing languages, and it was a thing in National Geographic of languages that were disappearing around the world, and it was an interactive map. So I put the hyperlink on, and the questions I have, what their responsibility is, and their points. So in other words, I put a title up for a discussion, put the background of why I'm doing that discussion, I sell the topic, and I'm going to go back to this a lot. Teaching public speaking for years, you have to show someone why they should care. Why should they care about this topic? Why should they care about this module? Why should they care about the class? I know. We teach the class. Everybody must be excited about it as we are. I give them the task they have to perform, what their responsibility is, and finally, the value of the assignment. So these are the basic structures that I will use. Title, background, sell the topic, what exactly they have to do, responsibility that they have to not only post once but respond to a couple others, and the value of the assignment. This is the number one problem I've found with most instructors. They don't write enough in the discussion. They just, sort of like, when you walk into your face-to-face class, you set up the discussion. I was reading the paper the other day, and this time, so what do you think? But in the online, somehow we get brevity of words. We get behind a keyboard, and it's like, so, Iraq, what do you think? And they have no idea what to write, no idea what to go. Why are you asking me this question? Do I have anybody that teaches administration of justice? Oh, good, we can talk about that? No, they're the worst, because police reports are very brief. They don't embellish them a lot. And so, their topics, no, not online. And so that's, hi, I'm just wandering around so no one shoots me here. Make your expectations clear. Hi, how you doing? This is all online, and I'll give you the address afterwards. Come and see me. Make sure you do. Make your expectations clear. What do you want them to do? How long does it have to be? How involved do they have to be? And so on and so on. Add videos. You should be able to embed videos into your discussion. Use those videos. I had one of my colleagues put in a video pro and con on one of the propositions in California a few years ago. Had both videos in the discussion and wanted them to respond to which one they liked the best, why, what arguments there were, and so on. So you can embed that sort of thing. That brings it alive. You may have links to some other page. What's it worth? How many points is it worth? Don't assume they can read your mind. And we can be very sloppy in a face-to-face class. We give an assignment and they have a question. We answer it, they have another question. People have online, we can't do that. We need to be as clear as possible from step one to really let them know. Questions so far? Creating a topic. Make your topics interesting. I know that it seems kind of obvious, well, yeah, but a lot of times they're just, one of the ways we use discussions in a face-to-face class is just to make sure people got that information. So what was the most important thing I said about the last slide? Well, we don't do that online. We have to find some sort of interesting topic. And I'm going to go through a lot of possibilities to kind of jog your imagination here. Don't create topics with specific text answers. And I'm going to give you an example of that. But in other words, it's just a straight knowledge content. You want them to add value, judgment, analysis to the topics. If you're asking just for, well, what year was so-and-so invented? Okay, the first student puts it up there. What are the other 18 going to do? Be creative again. Require student evaluation, require student judgment. That's really the key. You want them to evaluate something. Now, this would be the example I like. I had Administration of Justice course. It was Introduction to Corrections. And he wanted to make sure they had read the chapter, and the chapter was on punishments that were no longer used. So here was his question. Look back at chapter 1 and pick out 3 types of punishments that were no longer in use and describe them. Now that might be good for a homework assignment, but if there's only 8 of them in the chapter, the 3rd student cannot finish the assignment, and you've got another 28 students. Knowing what he wanted to do, here's how we changed it. Look back at chapter 1, pick out 1 of the types of punishments that we no longer use, and explain why you believe we should bring it back. It accomplishes the same sort of thing, but now you are using analysis and judgment. This is the way you want to start guiding your discussions. How can we get to this point as opposed to just refreshing knowledge? Make sense? You all need to nod to give me that. I consider it a badge.
So in your example with the disciplinary languages, I see how you brought in analysis to the second part of the question. But I don't see how you flowed them with context.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had done that in a module. You're right. And going back there, I should add even more to it. But in the module, I had a whole topic on disappearing languages, how it relates to thinking, and so on. But I should have reminded them there. That's an excellent point. Guess who's redesigning his class this summer? This is me. Give student choices. Excuse me. This is one of my sociology friends did this all the time. She would basically have, okay, in this, we've got pick the one you want to do. It allows students to guide their learning, and once they guide that learning, they're a little more committed to it. My favorite example is my daughter went to a small college. Anybody teach English? On all the English 1 classes, each one had a different theme. Women in literature, Vietnam War, and so you would go to that class. They all had the same assignments, but they had a theme, and people have to select the theme they were interested in. We do this here, and I try to give them a choice of 1 or 2 or more, and let them go to that. And what happens? Many of them pick more than 1, just because they get interested. But now it's all voluntary. Yeah, again, why should students care? I just love that guy. Another one is find experts. Bring experts in. I was teaching him, well, I'll show you in a second. But anyway, if you have an expert, let me just give you real quick here. They can add valuable content and insight. We all know what an expert is, right? Someone 50 miles from campus? Isn't that usually the definition? I can't tell you how many times I was asked to go to another school to speak. My school could care less. Anyway, students appreciate the experts. It's easier to recruit online experts. Now I don't have to have them come to my face-to-face class at a certain day at a certain hour. Now I'll just put you in charge of the discussion. Come in whenever you want, type of thing. No. I just explain who they are. I'll give you 2 examples here in just a second. And of course, it gives you a break. Yeah, okay. These were some of the people that came in. I just want to talk about these 2, Jason and Ken. That is not Ken's real mustache. He's just being goofy. I was teaching a media class, and I had a unit on radio. Jason's the head of the school's radio station, but had worked 20 years in the radio industry, knows everything about rock and roll and so on. So I introduced him. I showed him, here's his credentials, here's what he can do. If you ever had any questions on radio, contact him. Post something. And so they started a lively discussion. He loved it. He loved participating. Kenny also loved it. Kenny is a writer-producer, just finished up on the show The Mentalist. Familiar with The Mentalist? He does that, and he's now the man that produced The Mentalist has him going back east. He's going to be doing Gotham, which is a big deal. Anyway, I had Ken do television, and he just had a great time, dropping in like at work. He would take some time off, 10 minutes, look at it, answer things. He really enjoyed it. So finding experts not that bad, and it gives them direct experience as opposed to Mr. Theory here. Discussion uses. We all use them for icebreakers? Yes, Jim, we have. Okay, good. Okay. Not so successful icebreaker? Okay, that's the comedy portion of the show. Let's move on here. Okay. Let me give you some ideas about icebreakers. If you do have, and I strongly suggest you have an opening discussion, some sort of icebreaker to build community. Ask specific questions. Don't just say, hey, tell me about yourself. Because this may be, and this is probably going to be the very first discussion they'll have in your class. They need a little guidance. Ask an interesting question. What's your name? No, Build trust. Answer your own questions. This is what most instructors don't do. They'll have an icebreaker. Tell me this about yourself, this about yourself, this about yourself. And they never answer it themselves. They just expect the students to do it. This is a great opportunity for you to start establishing trust by telling them who you are. For example, I said first instruction, make instructions clear. This is mine. That I used last semester. I want to welcome you to the class. Here's my 3 questions. Describe 3 things about yourself. What do you want to be when you grow up? And what is the history of your last name? That gets some interesting answers. And this is from my cultural class. And I go, here's how I would answer the questions. Now, by putting these answers down, they learn something about me, plus I'm modeling the answer I want. So now they have an idea of what it is. So always answer your own questions. Like I said, first step in tearing down the wall between instructor and student. I do a 4-day class, on a little mini class for our learning system called Humanizing the Online Class. And how do we break down that technology between us to really make it more vital, feel like we're a part of something. So, anybody have an idea? What icebreakers do you use? Let me do a couple of them real quick. Yeah, what do you use? What's the weirdest thing you've ever done? Now, by weird, do you mean legal, illegal, or is that the... Yeah, I bet. Yeah, there you go. Very good. I want to hear about it afterwards. Hold on a second. Yes, way in the back. Yes, how about you? Our hobby and 1 random fact. Excellent.
There's a whole book the Boy Scouts have just icebreakers called Sparklers.
Sparklers. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
I use different ones all the time.
Yeah. So anyway, there are all sorts of possibilities. Have fun with it. You're getting to know your people. I imagine you do something like this in a face-to-face class? Yes, Jim, we do. Okay, good. I used to care. No, I mean, variety of topics you can use. Here's an evaluation topic. And what I do here, this was a class I was doing for fellow instructors. And there was a site that had a teacher's dozen, that had 12 different aspects of online teaching. And I had it in one of the modules of learning. And I had them just go through and select the one they connected with the most and why. So that becomes an evaluation. User-generated topic. I'll have them create it. Say, hey, find a video. And this is from Competencies of Online Teaching. So I had them actually plug a video into the site here. The video that they liked, there's about 200 of them. They look at them again and plug in that video, and they start sharing the videos. Sometimes I'll have just a video and say react. This is the one. This is the most vague thing I'll do. Very beginning of class, you're familiar with the Gods Must Be Crazy? It's the first 10 minutes of that, and then I just have them react to it and respond. What do you think? I try to, like I said, be creative. I wanted to get them to know the difference between intelligence and thinking, which I just found out a couple days ago. This is what Google looks for in hiring. They don't look for IQ, they look for cognitive abilities. So I thought, anyway. And so basically I said, hey, welcome to my job application. I got the greatest job. You really want this job. But to get it, you have to prove to me you're smart. How would you do it? There's my fancy arrow there. And so explain to me what it means to be smart. I'd expect you to provide some sources other than yourself that explains what it means. Explain how do you prove it to me. So anyway, it's that sort of thing. So I'm just trying to get that. I teach critical thinking. I want them to understand what the definition is, so they've got to explain it to a 10-year-old. Anybody have children try to explain things to them? I found that was the best way to know if I really knew something. So I have them explain it to a 10-year-old, a little definition and an example, and it's like, you want one toy or the other, you want to go to a party or you want to do this, and they become very, very interesting answers. User-generated again. A nonverbal, I want them to find a website that illustrates the concept, so they can go and look to that. I even use poetry. I go, this is a T.S. Eliot, where's the life we've lost in living, the wisdom we've lost in knowledge, knowledge we've lost in information. And I talk about wisdom, knowledge, and information, some of the differences. And I just have them react to the poem. Anybody know who Bat Boy is? You've heard of Bat Boy. Weekly World News, and hysterical, this kind of like a mascot. And so basically I want to go, does he exist? The right answer is I don't know, but they immediately want to make certain assumptions and so on. So this is totally off the wall, and he becomes kind of like a mascot for our class. I have debates, and this is about Resolve Los Angeles Valley College should institute a language code, but I give a huge background on it, and I give them some real guidance on how to go with it. It's their first debate in class. again, those are just a whole variety of topics. Summarizing homework. This is a real interesting challenge for all instructors. How much do you want of their work private, just to you? How much are you willing to have their work public so everyone can benefit? There's certain things I require them to do that only I will initially see, because I want to see if they, as a real summative evaluation, did they understand it and so on. I want to see what they did. But there are a lot of things like in discussion that I have them share with others. Then I have a couple of things where I combine the two. And what I did was, I tried to, like I said, combine individual work and sharing with others. So what I had was, I had them go to a website, critical thinking website, a whole series of articles. They had to select an article and do a 250-word summary. But I liked them so much, I had them summarize their summary and post it so they could share with others. So not only did they do the individual work for me, others got the benefit of what they had done. So think about that when you're designing. How much do you want for you? How much do you want to share? And is there any you can combine? And this was their summaries. I asked for 1 or 2 sentences, and they wrote this. They started writing. You see, I get pictures of others there, not just me. Although me would be, not forget it. Avenue for thoughts. Sometimes I will post something in an announcement that I know they might want to react to. I give them an avenue to react. No points, no credit, but if they feel strongly about it, I want them to react. When I was teaching the cultural class, Malala was when she was shot for being the attempted assassination when she was riding her bus to school. So I posted a whole article about the culture of educating women, background of this, a video about her, and so on. And I knew some students would want to say something about it. So I created a discussion and said, if you have any thoughts, put them here. And people just started writing because they really wanted to react. I know sometimes I hear instructors say, oh, students won't write anything if they don't get credit. They will if they're interested. You know, so we got to make it interesting, something that touches them. And we can also have some fun. There's a friend of mine who was a dean at Foothill College, Mike McCard, and we used to work together. We had a seminar we did together. If they're laughing, are they learning? Because we had this belief that people could actually enjoy the learning process. Okay, perhaps I'm the only one that feels that way, and I can understand that, but anyway. So I put in, we call it in group communication, task and non-task communication. Fun communication bonds people together. This is why you go out on dates with your spouse, just to have some fun together. This is why people at offices have parties and so on. So in class, I try to do some fun things just for fun. And this is one. This kind of combines. This is called Our Girl's Evil. This is I'm trying to get my students to understand that something can be logical but still be wrong. And it looks something like this.
First,
notice the spelling.
That girls require a lot of money and time. And as we all know, time is money. Therefore, if we substitute time with money, girls equal money multiplied by money. Or, more simply, girls equal money squared. Now, if money is the root of all evil, then girls equal the root of all evil squared. And finally, if we simplify this equation, we are forced to conclude that girls are the collective sum of all evil.
I'll let you just imagine how much fun I have with the reactions to that discussion, okay? I know, what's the argument? Shut up. Okay. Right here. Ooh, there we go. Look at that. So anyway, it goes all over the place. Immediate denial, no evidence. No, they're totally wrong. You get a hostile. Anyway, that's just for fun, but it also has a lesson involved also. I also have a Halloween party in the fall. Oh, I'm sorry. Here's your theory. Social communication, things like that, increase trust, builds a learning community. I have a Halloween party. It's if you learn nothing else today, the website is called Face in Whole. And you know those old things we have like a wood thing you put your head through and whatever. It's hundreds of those that you just put your digitized picture in, and you can create these. So in the fall, I'll say, hey, let's have a Halloween party, and that's me. Let me put it this way: this is me. Okay, if I can just kind of make that clear right now. And so they start putting their pictures up. Was that one good? Oh, I was impressed with that one. Well, they take their picture and they attach it to all. I do ask, however, that you make it socially acceptable, because there are some that are kind of inappropriate. And one girl, and I said, do something that wouldn't embarrass your grandmother. That's the way I put it. And this one girl put a picture up, and I wrote her back, go, can I meet your grandmother? That was I had several princesses. I got to tell you, that was a popular theme. I think it was but this is what one student put. Thank you. The site was so much fun. My friend and I were on it for hours. The other reason I do that is I don't want them to think, oh, their whole idea, I logged into the class, what do I got to do? You know, all I'm getting faced with is just the serious, you know, especially you look at announcements, do this type of thing. How do I make my class a little more inviting, and at least having some fun now and then might help. Activity, let's get that was the answer to the disappearing languages. It's another one. So people, if you connect with them, they'll write. Okay, I'm going to go on because we only have, what time is it?
It's 1:35.
Oh, good. I still got almost 2 hours. Okay, make your expectations clear. I'm going to talk about grading discussions. Anybody here struggle with grading discussions? Yeah. How do you do that type of thing? First of all, how many teach also face-to-face? Okay, good. Do you ever have participation grades? What is that? No, yeah, attendance grades are. Participation's not. Now, I'll tell you what it is. It's at the end of the semester. You go, oh, yeah, that person didn't cause me any trouble. I'll give them points. Am I right? No, you know, as opposed to that guy was annoying, I'm going to knock off a couple of points. Because I'm guessing that after every class, you don't sit back and go, okay, they spoke for 3 minutes, they spoke for 2 minutes, so you keep a running total of that? And you think about the quality of each thing they said? No. But somehow we all have this participation grade. And really, you're not alone. We all do. Okay. Online, all your discussions are kept. You've got a copy of everything they said in the class. And it's there for you to evaluate and you incorporate as your grade. How many have taught online more than a year? More than 5 years? Anybody? Okay, those of you for 5 years. Has the percentage of their course grade increased with discussions?
Yes.
Because most instructors I talk to, discussions is a small part because they think of it kind of like a participation grade. But as they see the value of it, it becomes a higher and higher percentage of the grade. Is that fair for most of you? Yeah, for me it's up to 50% now. Because I have 16 discussions, they'll write an enormous amount, and I'll have homework assignments worth 25% and quizzes and tests worth 25%. And the only reason I do quizzes and tests at all is so I know that they've read and looked at the material enough to utilize it in the discussions. Because it's the discussions where I feel higher level work is happening. So that's why I'll do it there. So you have to make your expectations clear. Let me give you another real quick tip here, not much to do with this. Your face-to-face class, how big is your syllabus? How many? 2 pages? Wow. How many have it more than 5 pages now? Yeah. Do you notice that you keep adding things to it because something happened in that class and now you want to preempt and you go, and we keep adding, we get volume 1 and so on. An online class, there's something you can do that an instructor gave me a suggestion. Whenever you get a computer program, you have the quick start and the big reference manual. Make your online syllabus the quick start syllabus. Use one of your content modules to be your reference to explain it. For example, in my class I'll have, you're going to have 16 discussions, they're worth this many points and so on. That's about it. But in a module, I'll go into depth on how I grade them. So that way they have the syllabus and they have how. Yes?
I start the syllabus with how is this going to work.
Yeah.
As a summary of what's going to happen. Then it goes more down this amount for this,
Yeah, but that's still all in the syllabus, right? Yeah, but you divide it into two sections. I just take that second part and put it in another whole thing. So, and then that way I can chunk it up instead of. Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right. So anyway, this then I begin to talk about, welcome to class. Here's some of the criteria. I need to go to my rubric now. This is how I do it. It's not obviously not the only way. Other instructors do a variety of things. But there were 4 things. How many get shivers when they hear the word rubric, by the way? There are 4 things I was looking for. I wanted them to post early. Anybody ever had that problem, last night posting? Well, I want them to post early. I want them to respond to each other, at least so many people. I also want it spread out during the week, so they have a chance to see what other people wrote in between their comments, and then they actually want to know something about the content of their work. Those were my 4 basic criterias. See, as you get older, you forget you put things on slides there. Okay, so these are the 4 things that I wanted. So here's what it looks like. Ready? Boom, there it is. So they're worth 20 points. So the first 3, when initially posted, fulfilled responsibilities, frequency of posts, I have a 3, 2, and 1. This was back when I used to post everything on Monday, and if they had their initial post by Thursday, they got maximum credit by Friday, by Saturday. It wasn't due till the following Monday. So if they waited till Sunday or Monday to do it, they get 0 points on posting early. I also had fulfilled responsibilities, initial post, responded to 1, responded to 2, just at your own post. Was it spread out over the week, and I've redefined that as 3 times, 2 times, 1 time. And then I put in comments for the different values for the content. I give this to them right up front. They know I've not had any arguments on any discussion grades. Makes it so easy to evaluate now. Reactions? It makes sense? But you might have something else. For example, I've had some people on content of posts who was really important to them to make sure they referenced other material. Well, that became a category. And so what I would suggest is you sit back for a while and just really think. Have a couple glasses of wine. And really think, what is it that I want them to do? What would be perfect for me? Make those your sides, start figuring out the points for it, let them know right up front. I'm going to be creating a video for this for my class so they see me do it. Yes?
I just put telling a girl that's trying to respond to
yeah.
How do you feel about when it's bad and bad and bad and bad and bad and it's better?
Oh, mine's not. Okay. I don't take off a lot of points for that. I just kind of include it. But I also make a big deal about I don't want any text speech. And I actually have a video at the beginning of class where I talk about that. I tell them if you want to refer to you, don't put the letter, put YOU, things like that. So I will do that, but that's not a major part of it for me. I let my English people do that. That's why I went into oral communication, because I really am not that good with it anyway. But thank you for the question. And again, your grading criteria may be have a whole variety of other things involved with it, but have one. Have one. It'll make things easier for you. It'll make things easier for your students, and you'll get better results. Get better results. If you want something done early, get points for it being done early. I used to have, I had an instructor one time, out of 100 points on the papers, he'd give them 1 point if they stapled them together. And from that point on, he never had to worry about bringing a stapler to class. It was funny how everybody, it was just 1 point, but everybody wanted that point, so everybody started stapling their papers together. I mean, how many really in your class turn in papers, aren't you stapling like crazy? Yeah, give it a point, I like to put students in groups. Let me rephrase it. I have to put students in groups. I have 2 sections combined into one online shell. And so I have about 90, 95 students at the beginning of the semester. There's no way you can have all 90 or 95 into one group. So I'll divide them initially into 4 groups. They all get the exact same discussions. Everything's the same, but they're doing it in groups of 20 to 25, which makes it much more comfortable for them. In a large group, I know I'm preaching to the choir, students will feel disconnected with each other. How can I relate to other 90 people? It's like being in a large lecture hall, but it's only 20. Now I can get to know each other a little bit. I'm going to teach a class one time. I've decided every reference, I'm just going to reference The Simpsons. It's going to be a communication class. It should work great, but that's me. Would they feel more comfortable in smaller, more intimate groups? Anybody know what they're worth? A lot, thank you. That's their empire's worth $1 billion. Now they have a football team. Lousy football team. But they have, okay. Again, too many in a class for one discussion group. It's tough to come up with an original answer as the 42nd student. And you can make more unique contributions to smaller groups. And yes?
Do your groups have access to each other's discussions?
Not initially. Not initially. I keep them totally private, so no one can see them but them. But we have a feature in our learning system that afterwards we can open it up and other people can look at it without being able to respond to and so on. We also have individual chat rooms now that we can use one.
Okay, like start with 24 students, would you
No, I would keep 24. I think 24 is still a good number because what happens is a third of them don't respond early enough, so you need kind of a large enough group to do that. Good question. Yes. And like I'll start with 4 groups, and one group may end up with just 2 fewer people, and I'll spread them out in the other 3 groups. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I do. How do I do? That's a great question, seriously, because I've heard the 2 different versions. One version, people are afraid to participate. Hi, how are you? People don't participate because they don't want to act like it's Big Brother looking over the shoulder, and so they don't participate. Others participate maybe too much. I like to jump in there just like I do in a face-to-face class and say, you know, that's a good idea, but what about this? And that'll be the type of interaction I'll do. And I'll try to do that 2 or 3 times during the week. Here's the problem I have. Here's the problem I have with discussions that people who have never been in an online class, those of you who read like newspaper articles or something and then you see people's responses to them, aren't they vicious? Horrible. My online classes, everyone's really nice. I've had two exceptions I want to tell you about in a second. But generally, everybody agrees with everybody. Isn't this wonderful? And so I have to be the one to go in and disagree and try to get them to think of something else. But generally, if you've seen your discussions, most of them are really nice. I've only had 2 problems with the same type of person, 50-year-old men. And these are guys who had come off the streets, had learned a tough way. Kids today have it too, and they were bullies. They were just flat-out bullies, and I had to step in and out-bully them, you know, to shame them a bit to get them to stop it. But those are the only examples I've had, and you all may have other examples. So I do go in periodically to try to focus things a little and make sure we're back on track.
Do you feel like your discussions could still be effective and useful for the students if you stay out?
Yeah, and because there's sometimes I don't comment that much. But just like I do, I normally don't do this in a face-to-face class, start a discussion and sit down. What do you teach? English, yeah. Do you ever have discussions in a face-to-face class? Do you say anything, or you just go over and sit down and go back to your office? And that's what I try to do. And I'm the same way. I want them to carry it. But if everyone's like, yeah, I agree with you, yeah, you're right, yeah, I'm gonna put in a reality check, sort of thing. There was a question back here and then here. Well, first, oh no, I won't change that. No, yeah, because I don't want to publicly embarrass them. I may send a private message saying, you know, you might want to look at this. If it's really, is it something that might embarrass them to their peers? I'll put something in on that privately to them. We have a private message system. That's not the, unless like, you know, I can tell if they rush it and they never capitalize the letter I, something like that. But I'm not I'm not that focused on English. I'm more involved in the content. If it was brutal, I would, but I try to stay out of that. You know, and I'll evaluate that at the end. But I want them to feel that they can naturally say what they want, and then I'll try to correct them later. Yeah. Yeah, we don't have that in our system. What you're talking about is some systems, you cannot see anybody else's post until you make your initial post. And that may be something we'll have later on. But that's, yeah, and that can be very useful. In a face-to-face class, we don't do that. We let people build on each other's ideas all the time. So, no, I know. Yeah. What's nice about online discussions is you can't get, yeah, what he said. Then I'll step in, you know. Good, thank you. There's a question up here? You had one, yes.
I just wanted to make a statement.
Please.
I think it's to remember the present. You need to be present in your discussions. You don't ask a question you're on top and go out and get talking.
Right.
And the same thing, while you may not say anything, you need to be in there. Students need to know you're there.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest complaint I've ever heard from students in discussions is that they feel like that they're talking with their teacher has left them.
Yeah. Two things with that. One thing, our particular system has in the corner users present, so they can see my name there whenever I'm in class. I can see their names when they're in class, so they're never like alone. But the other thing that's important about that, you were talking about the importance of the use of instructors' presence. That's what accreditation is really hitting on. Those of you who've been involved in distance learning accreditation, their concept is that if you're not there, it's a correspondence course, and so they're really coming down on those. So that's, and we don't want to do that, do we? That's not. You might want to create special groups. What I did was you might want to try this sometime. I had some students from like one semester's class, and I invited about 8 of them who had done really well to come back and be TAs for me. And what that meant was you're just going to keep the discussion going. So and they were honored. And I said, all I can pay you for is just a marvelous recommendation. It's like an internship type of thing, right? But they came, and I had like 2 of them assigned to each of the groups that I had, and they would just come in and be part of the conversation. And the students could contact them through private messages because they may have questions about the class they don't want to go to the teacher about. And so it was just a nice interaction, and then those 8 students learned a lot more the second time through. So it benefited that way also. Yeah.
You keep talking about how you're bringing in these outside people into your class.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure a lot of systems allow for that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I can add users. I could add you to my class to check it out and so on. Okay. If you can do that, it's a wonderful tool. I was at one college that they frowned on that just from a philosophical reason because the teacher should be teaching the class. So anyway, you never know. But if it's possible, it's something. This was, some of your questions already answered this. How many do you put in a group? And this is just me. I love this. I'm actually working on a small group communication book. I have to write this, and each concept is going to be illustrated by a different rock group. I put about 20 to 25 in a regular discussion because some participate and some don't. But if it's a project, I do 10 to 12, so I put about half that amount if I put them in student projects. And I'm going to talk about how you can do student projects in a minute. How you select members of a group. There are 2 ways of doing this. You can mix the higher achievers with the low. Vivian's here. Vivian in the back did help me out with the program on time, and I like her approach. Keep higher achievers together. Oops, I'm so sorry. In other words, I got 4 smartest people, 5, 10 smartest people. Put them in a group together. Let them grow like crazy instead of being tutors for others, and then work my way down from that. And so that's an approach that I've done. That sounds undemocratic almost, doesn't it? Sounds illegal. No, I haven't, because it takes so long to self-select. Sometimes I just go ahead and do it. Actually, my first groups in my class, I just randomly do it, A to F, G to M, and so on. Just to. How do you assign group responsibilities? There's 2 ways of doing it. Or do you assign? Some people say, okay, we're going to be in a group. You're going to be the leader. You're going to be the recorder. You're going to be the information providers, and so on. And that will save time, and it'll save some frustration. But I never know if I'm assigning it to the right person. But that is an approach some people use. Groups of 1. Anybody have journal writing in their classes? One of the things you can do, we had some English classes. Let's see if I have. Yeah, English, communication, child development, lab reports. Just the 1 alone. So what you can do is you can, if your system allows it, you can create a group with just that 1 person, and that becomes a private journal for them. And so you do that for 30 students. And each one of them has their own journal they can write in all semester long. You and that person are the only 2 people that have access to it. So that's a strategy that we were using because we got this child development instructor wanted to do it, wanted her students keep journals. So we realized we could do it this way. Group projects. Definition, time to relax while you watch someone else who cares do all the work. You really have to. If you ever Google group projects and look for images. I'll show you a couple of them here. You can see how they're hated. Let me just put it that way. Not sure if I hate group projects or just hate people. So these are sort of things that you pick up while you're doing this. Okay. Now here's the other favorite one. If you've seen Hangover, thank you. I should know that. If you've seen Hangover, it talks about the 4 people, does 99% of the work, has no idea what's going on, says he's going to help, but he's not, disappears at the very beginning, doesn't show up to the very end. So if you've seen the movie, it seems to illustrate those really well. Okay, let's get serious now. I have 2 types of group projects that I do. One I call parallel play. Anybody ever have children? Yeah, when they're little kids, you put them side by side, they don't really interact, they're just kind of doing their own thing next to each other. I do that with groups. And I also have real group projects. So let's take a first look at what I mean by parallel play. These are group projects where the members of the group are not dependent on each other to complete the task. They can help and inspire each other, but the grade is not dependent on other group members. And in my cultural communication class, I just, again, go through this pretty quick. We analyzed the country, but what I did was I took that country and divided a variety of topics, and each student would select a topic. From language, appearance, heroes and legends, values and principles, life outside primary culture, and so on and so on. I had about 12, 14 of those individual topics. The student would select the topic they want to work on. I then explained what we're going to do. This particular one we did was China. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I had my birthday about 2-3 days ago, and my son posted a collage of things that I'm older than. China was one of them. The other one he loves to do, and I apologize, I have ADL, attention deficit lecturing, I apologize. No, the other one he did was a picture of Ozzy Osbourne. He's so happy that I'm older than Ozzy Osbourne, and that he gets a thrill out of that. Okay, anyway, so we did China, and I sold them on China. Here's why this country is important, interesting, and so on, some background and so on. And then I had the final project. I had a show, and the project was they were going to be working on a PowerPoint. Each one of them with their topic, they were going to create the mother of all PowerPoints, right? And I showed them a PowerPoint from the past, class had done. And then I gave them instructions. I want 10 slides. Here's what I want, and so on. And this is what they came up with. PowerPoints, and we used Google presentation so they could all work on it together. And it was a great way to combine text, graphics, audio, video, all those sort of things to pull it in. And they had to do 10 slides on their particular topic. Here's the interesting thing that happened. Even though they weren't dependent on each other's grade, I would post something, and then suddenly you posted something that was better than what I did. I'm going back and working on mine a little bit. So they really kind of motivated subtly each other to do a little bit more because, you know, I can't let you beat me. You know, I'm a guy. So that's parallel play. They weren't graded by each other, but they inspired each other. Yes? Well, it's worth a lot of points, and if they don't do the project, they don't get those points. No, and in the parallel play, they don't participate in a group. They just, here's my assignment. Instead of turning in that assignment to me, they're posting it along with the others, and so they do get some interaction when someone says, you know, I saw a video that could help you out, or if I look at yours and I notice something you did that may help mine, and so on, and that's about it. They don't know. What I do with this project is they give me the website that it's on, and so I can look at it from there. I'm a member of the Google. I'm a member of the. Thank you. I'm a member of their Google team, so I can see the project. So I just grade it from there. They don't turn anything in. Well, the thing is, it's a different topic. Yeah, so like you may be doing language, and I'm doing heroes and legends. So you may see that, wow, he included a video. Maybe I can find a video for mine. So it's that sort of thing.
But is somebody on that this week on heroes and legends? Does a group something?
No, it's all their grade. In other words, I could have had the same assignment, but say, you turn it just into me. You turn yours just into me. But instead, I had you get to see each other as you were developing. Hopefully, it would inspire you. But yeah, there's no penalty at all on one person. The penalty comes in the second one. Real group projects. Here's another one. This is what you've learned. The material, group skills, how much you hate other people. That's I just love those. They're all really, look up group projects image and you'll love those. They're all over the place. Anyway, members divide duties and responsibilities and work together to complete the task. People in the group are dependent on each other to complete the task. Now, the project, here they have to work together on a task, and here's how I graded it, and there's all different ways of grading it. I gave 10 bonus points that they give each other. So I've got 8 people on my team, I got 10 points, how do I distribute them amongst the other 7 people? I evaluate the final project, and this is where they're dependent on each other. And you'll see it's low here, because this particular class was a group class, and the purpose of this project was to give them a group task that they could then analyze. And so the rest of the points are evaluation of the group process, and that becomes an individual thing. So I kind of combined the two. What we did for this, I put them on Google. They were going to create a chapter in a virtual group text. So one group did on leadership, another did on group phases, and so on. And then we'd create an ebook out of it. So the good thing about groups in an online class is they can virtually get together. We used Hangouts here, and they could actually not only get together, just live chat sessions, but also were video sessions. And where my face-to-face class, they could never meet outside of class because of their schedules. But the asynchronous nature of online learning allows them to be able to do group work. There's more than one way to teach online, as you all know, and I've just kind of given you some ideas. Hopefully something connected here. But this is the motto I give my instructors when I'm working with them. We should not be about creating educational content. Instead, we should be about creating an educational experience. Too many times we try to take our face-to-face class and move it online, and it doesn't really work. We need to try to create, how can we use the media to do this? My son is an analyst for international politics. He does Middle East. But he took an online training class, and he said if he ever taught an international politics class, he would give each student a country and then post an announcement what happened in the world that week, and they'd have to figure out how to deal with it. He said that's something he couldn't do in a face-to-face class, basically a model UN online. And then he'd insert little things and said, that's using the media. That's not just transferring one class to another. I never teach my pupils. I only attempt to provide the conditions in which they can learn. I think it's a great idea. What sort of conditions are we creating? And I'm such a strong believer that discussions are one of those ideas, one of those conditions that we can really generate quality thinking. Oh, this is the big finish. Hold on, hold on. Can you help me with this?
You just want the other video?
Yeah, just the other video. Okay, hold on now. It'll be worth it. Okay. Thank you guys so much for being here, by the way. But hold on. Here it is. Seen the Matrix?
How did you do that?
Do what?
You moved like they do. I've never seen anyone move that fast.
Wasn't fast enough. Can you fly that thing?
Not yet.
Operator.
Tank, I need a pilot program for a B-212 helicopter. Hurry. Let's go.
And my next slide says, the future of distance learning, okay? Thank you all very much for being here today. I feel like I've earned a badge. If you, for those of you who got here a little bit later, this entire presentation is online, and I'm going to go back and I'll put the slide up where that is.